Welcome back to The Price of Business. I'm your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. I want to remind you some great articles over there at priceofbusiness.com. Latest by James Tellerico on end-of-year tax planning. Plus, do want to mention today's program brought to you in part by Video Mojo, Cornerstone Recovery, Chris Kidd, and Big State Home Buyers. You know, earlier in the program, we were talking about a great organization that helps in recovery. And I tell you, the problem of addiction is pervasive in our culture today. And delighted to have Debra J. on to talk about this important topic. How are you today, Debra?
I'm great, Kevin. It's great to be with you today.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and your organization, lovefirst.net.
LoveFirst.net on our website is really designed for families, and we're looking at how do we get somebody we love into treatment. And once they're into treatment and they're out of treatment, how do we keep them sober? Because right now we've got a big problem when it comes to treatment. 50 to 90% of the people who go through treatment relapse after treatment. And it's not because treatment isn't doing its job. It's because as families, really, no one is telling us the job we need to do after our loved one comes home.
Yeah, and so things like, they say for every one addict or alcoholic, there's at least 4 immediately affected family members, at least, and so when you look at it in that context, for every one AA meeting, there should be 4 Al-Anon meetings. And
yes,
the ratio is the exact opposite.
Exactly, and what's also a staggering statistic in this country, 1 out of 3 Americans is related to or living to somebody with somebody with an addiction. It's huge.
It's unbelievable. And so what people don't understand is that, there's these cliches, we didn't cause it, we can't cure it, and we certainly can't control it. The family members can't, but we do contribute to it. We create an environment that's conducive for addiction to take place. And if the addict gets help and a family member doesn't, things will go pretty back to normal, which were pretty abnormal in the first place.
Well, absolutely, and families do that unwittingly. But what we tell families, which is a real problem, we say, you can't help the addict until he or she wants help. And that sounds like it makes sense, but there's a big mistake in that myth. What we should be saying instead is, if you can't help an addict until he wants help, what's going to get him to want help? That changes everything for the family. What's going to get him to want help?
Right. That's why even if your family member who is an addict isn't doing anything, you should consider Al-Anon or one of the other, Codependence Anonymous, or one of the other programs that help you deal with people with that situation. So that the reality is that if an addict needs to hit bottom before he or she's going to get better, what can you do to help them fill that bottom?
Well, the other thing is, what I say is, you know what? Nobody tells a family when the addict hits bottom, so do you. The whole family takes that ride to the bottom, including the smallest children, and it's really not all right. We destroy families by letting this disease go unchecked, and we're not giving families the tools that they need. And, on lovefirst.net, the newest book, It Takes a Family, what that book does is it transforms what works so well for doctors. 96% of doctors that come out of treatment do not relapse. It's the holy grail of recovery. And it takes what works for doctors and it transforms it into a simple program that works for families. We can do the same thing. We can have the same success.
Yeah, absolutely. People ought to check out lovefirst.net, lovefirst.net. And what's interesting is that, if one attends meetings like Al-Anon, you'll see people in there who have been in there for decades because they realize they had their own issues. Really, it takes a lot of issues to tolerate having an addict in your life. You've got to have a lot of your own issues to be able to tolerate that.
Absolutely, because, what we all do, and we don't even realize it, is we develop survival skills, and they make sense in the middle of a home with addiction. It's the way I protect myself. It's the way I protect other people in the family. But those survival skills are really unhealthy, and they keep us in an unhealthy situation, and we have to let go of the problem. So when people say, detach, that means let go of the problem so you can grab onto a solution. It does not mean don't do anything, just sit there.
Yeah, people say detachment is the opposite of enmeshment. The reality is that the opposite of enmeshment is abandonment. And a lot of people choose
Right.
abandonment when they should be looking at detached with love. That third way is often elusive for both the addict and for those who love the addict. So no question about it. By the way, are you in the Michigan area?
Grosse Pointe, Michigan.
Yeah. I grew up in Ferndale, Michigan.
Oh,
so,
did you? That is such a cool little town.
It is a
Ferndale.
cool, yeah. It's modern. What do they call it? I forgot. They got a name for it now. But yeah, it's a great little town. And of course, Grosse Pointe. Anyone want to know about Grosse Pointe, go see Grosse Pointe Blank, and you can get some great visuals there.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
lovely town.
Great movie.
Yeah, it's a great movie. Debra J., thanks so much for your time. LoveFirst.net. Check out her book, and it's published by Hazelden, which is one of the premier companies for recovery literature. Thanks for your time.
Thanks so much, Kevin. It was great. Bye-bye.
When we come back, much more for you right here on The Price of Business.